Your happiness should be your responsibility. The reason why I wanted to speak on this particular subject is because it wasn't until I realized that my happiness is my own responsibility is when I actually started having more joy in my life. I was outsourcing my happiness, which created a lot of suffering in my life. And something that I have realized and I experienced in my own life is we put labels on children at a really young age. We tell them that they need to have this type of grade, and then once they graduate from school, they can get this type of job. And if they work really hard, they can make this amount of money and maybe get married and have kids and live this happy life. And unfortunately, our entire lives are spent trying to meet these expectations, meet these standards. And we are taught, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, that you are what your grades are, or you are how much money you make, or you are what career that you have. And unfortunately, this has brought a ton of suffering in people's lives because now their happiness is dependent on something outside of them. It's dependent on an achievement that is out there when true happiness, true joy, true bliss has to come from within. There is nothing out there that can create long-lasting happiness in your life. One of the things that we are sold as Americans and all over the world is this concept of the American dream. People come to America all over the world to have the American dream. There's this thing that is sold that it's this beautiful life you can create for yourself. This is where happiness is. And when you really think about it, what is it that makes you happy? Or what do you need to happen to make you happy? Some people might say, well, I'd like to lose, 50 pounds. I want to be skinnier. And then you think about, okay, so let's take a skinny person like a supermodel. Do you think that all supermodels are really, really happy? No. Then you take another person and you say, okay, well, what do you need to be happy? And they may say, I want $1 billion. That would make me happy. But then you look around and you're like, okay, so $1 billion would make you happy. Do you think every single billionaire in this country is happy, is walking around joyful? Or maybe it's just you want to make like your first million. You don't even have to make that much money. Do you think every single millionaire, do you think everybody that makes a significant amount of money, do you think that they are all happy? Because when you really look at society, this world today has more conveniences than it has ever had in the history of man. Things are easier. Things are just more convenient. But then you look at the statistics of how many prescription pills have been increased and the number of suicides that have been increased. We have all of these things, we're buying all of these products and getting all of these surgeries and even technically making more money. But it seems as though more people are unhappy. So maybe, just maybe, the American dream might actually be the American nightmare. Everybody does what they do because they think it's going to bring them happiness, making more money, growing in their career, getting married, having kids, having children, whatever it is. We all have that thing where we believe if we do this, we'll be happy. And again, you are going to suffer until you get to that point. And what I've told people before, if you are not happy today, you will never be happy. Because once you achieve that thing that you've always wanted, once you get to that weight, once you become famous, once you make that amount of money, once you keep growing in your career, once you get married, once you have children, whatever it is that you think can make you happy, that thing is going to magnify your suffering. Because you will soon learn that once that happiness, high starts to go away, you still feel down. I grew up in an environment of the fairy tale land. This was the time that Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast and some really, really great shows came out in movies. And one of the things that they taught, one of the things that they said at the very end of the movies, at the very end of the books is, and they lived happily ever after. I also grew up in the area where there was a huge flush of romantic comedies. And essentially, the lead character, her entire life is revolved around, finding her husband, finding her boyfriend, losing him, and then coming back. And at the end, they're all so happy. And it's just this beautiful life that they're all going to live. What I didn't realize, and of course, my mom or my dad didn't realize this either, but listening to those fairy tales and those movies created a belief in my brain that said your happiness is attached to your partner, to your husband, to your boyfriend. And so I spent a lot of my life, looking for that partner. And I didn't really realize, I didn't make that connection that I thought that my happiness is attached to him. But I remember when I met my now husband and I thought yes, I've met him, we're going to get married, life is just going to be happy. We're going to have our kids. It's just going to be this beautiful thing because I searched so hard and I suffered so much because I had my heart broken and just dating, just interesting human beings out there. And clearly that didn't work out. And I finally met him. And it was this beautiful experience. And, when you first get married, it's just you two and you can be in this honeymoon. Then life starts to happen. Things with money may start to happen. And we all know when we have children, the life turns upside down. So when I had my first son, it was just, at first my husband and I, if we had a conflict, we can handle it. We can talk through this. Now we have this little baby. So if there's a conflict going on, you don't really have as much time to work through it. So you start to brush things under the rug. Now, mind you, after the birth of my first son, that's when I started to experience the postpartum depression. So I was not only not able to communicate with my husband what was going on with me, but I was also dealing with some very serious issues. Then baby 2 and baby 3 comes out and you really don't have any time to have those communications. And I started to resent my husband. I resented my husband because I was so down. I felt so neglected. I felt like such a bad mom. And I blamed him for it because I attached my happiness. It is his responsibility to make me happy. And at that point in my life, I wasn't. So not only was I feeling all of these feelings inside, I was blaming my husband for all of those feelings. And I also, I wasn't able to, articulate that to him because it was really hard when I'm in such a dangerous state. When you are depressed, it's very difficult to find the right words to say how it is, what you're going through. And even if you do articulate it to them, there's so much confusion because they're like, wait, what is all this is going on? What's really happening with you right now? And so that's one of the reasons why our marriage got into such a dark place, because I was unhappy and I blamed him for my unhappiness. I didn't know at that time that what I learned as a child, that you get married, you live happily ever after, you spend your life finding a man, and once you find a man, you're going to have this beautiful closeness and you're just going to be a happy person. I didn't even know that as a married woman with children, I didn't know that those are the beliefs that I held in my head. And because I had those beliefs, that created expectations. It created a standard that my husband was supposed to fulfill. And if he stepped out of that bubble, if he didn't reach that expectation that I held for him, you have to make me happy. You are the source of my happiness. And if I am not happy, this is your fault. any time that those feelings of sadness start to arise or the feelings of being neglected start to arrive, I pointed my finger at my husband. Again, because if I am not happy, this is your doing. This is your fault. You need to change. You need to start doing more for me and complimenting me more and taking care of me so I can, get back up, so I can level out, so I can be at peace again. All of my pain was because of him. And what I didn't know then, which I now live with and I understand and I know this to be true, that every relationship that I have right now, it is a mirror of what is going on within me. I didn't realize that when my marriage was falling apart and I was blaming him for feeling neglected and not a good mom and all of that stuff. But now I realize that all of those experiences, it was a mirror of what was going on within me. And in fact, my husband was actually doing me a favor. That's the point of relationships, especially close, intimate relationships. They are there to show you where you can grow, to give you that opportunity to be more aligned with your greatest self. So at that time, I was blaming him for me feeling this way, when I should have been looking at as a sign, as a message that I needed healing. He doesn't need to change. When there's conflict going on in your life, we always think we want to change people. We want to change circumstances. We want to change our memories or our past. But that's not the purpose, and there's no healing in that. The whole purpose of these painful emotions and your painful past is for you to become more wise and not more wounded, not to become a victim of it. It's to grow from them, to learn from them. Once I started to look within, when I fully forgave myself and just looked in the mirror and I looked at myself and I thought, I need to work on me. And when I started to do certain exercises and techniques that were solely for me, this was true self-care, self-love moment. After some time, I realized that I no longer needed that validation from my husband. I no longer felt neglected by him. I didn't even need any kind of compliments from him. And the reason why I thought I needed it myself was because technically I kind of did. And it was because I was neglecting myself. I believed I wasn't good enough. And so here he is, this beautiful mirror of mine. And I spent a lot of time blaming him for that. All it was to show me to start standing up for myself, to start feeling my needs, to start validating myself. And that can be kind of hard when, you first become a mom and all of your brain is succumbed by that. Everything is about making sure that they are taken care of. But if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to take care of your children. I tell people, be selfish when it comes to the mental health and your physical health. Be selfish. Take time for yourself. I know a lot of moms may feel guilty by doing certain things that they're away from their children or spending money that could go towards, something for their kids. But you cannot give what you don't have. And also this opposite is true. You give what you have. And if you are stressed out, if you are overwhelmed, or if you're riddled with guilt all the time, that's what you give your children. So there's no shame in being selfish. Be selfish and take care of yourself first. Put yourself first, because two things are going to happen when you do that. You are going to be happier, more pleasant, and you are also going to be an example for your child to show, it's important that I put myself first. It's important that self-care is made a priority in my life. This was the moment that I started to gain real control over my life. This is when I started to feel so much more joy in my life, in my marriage, and as a mother. And all I had to do was take that responsibility off my husband. It is not his job to make me happy. That is my job. And what makes that so beautiful is that it doesn't matter what happens out there, because crazy is going to happen in this world. Things that you don't expect are going to happen. That's part of the experience of life. But if you protect your happy, if you cultivate your joy, then you're going to be able to handle all of those experiences with more grace. And it's going to be easier to get over the unpleasant moments that happen in your life. To pretty much sum up what it is that I did to help me on this journey of recapturing my own happiness and making sure that I'm responsible for my own happiness, the first thing that I did was become aware. Becoming aware is taking a step back from your relationship and just analyzing and looking at your thoughts and your emotions, particularly when you are having a down moment. When I would have those really, really dark, depressive days, those are the days when I would get out my journal and start capturing, what am I saying to myself? What are the mean things that are going through my head? I became more aware of it. And one of the things that I had noticed was that anytime my husband left town, which he, especially during the early years with our kids, he left town a lot, and I always felt neglected. And I also felt like he didn't compliment me enough. So then I define that as I am not a good mom. And so this isn't judgment land. This isn't blame land. This is just understanding what the things were that I said in my mind when I was having a dark moment. When things would happen, when he would do something, okay, what am I thinking about? What am I saying to myself? How am I feeling? How am I interpreting this? And I really just looked at it more from an objective standpoint. Now, I may have been crying my eyes out while I was journaling, but once those emotions start, fading away a little bit, I can go back to the journal and really look at, what do I say to myself? How do I really feel when I'm in a dark state? The next thing that I needed to realize was that nobody can make you feel any kind of way. And if you feel a certain way based on what somebody says to you, if you feel disrespected, if you feel offended, those emotions are coming from somewhere within, because you cannot feel anything without having some type of belief system within you. The two big emotions that I had to acknowledge that what I was experiencing was neglect and sadness. And I soon acknowledged that both of those feelings were coming from somewhere within. At that time, I was spending so much time making sure that everybody else around me was good and happy and safe. I was actually neglecting myself. And I wasn't sad because my husband didn't call me a good mommy. I was sad because I didn't think I was a good mom. I didn't think I deserved the role of motherhood. I thought I was a crappy mother. And it did. It made me really sad. The issue was that I was blaming my husband for something that actually I believed was true. This is the thing about thoughts and emotions, especially your thoughts. Your thoughts only have power over you if you believe the things to be true. I tell people, you got to start treating your mind like a bully. If a bully comes up to you and says something, mean or cruel or whatever it is, it only breaks you down if you believe the bully, if you think that what they're saying is true. But if a bully comes up to you and you're really confident in some area and they're like, oh, you're stupid, and you're like, okay, well, I know that's not true, you keep it moving. It's not even something that, bothers you anymore. And that's the same thing with the mind. Treat the mind like a bully. Treat the mind like that mean person at work that's talking bad about everybody, so nobody, believes anything that they say, or the bully at school, however you want to, whatever setting you want to choose, treat them like somebody you don't trust. And use whatever it is that bully is saying, use that as just a message that there's healing that needs to be had. Because we know that when a bully says something mean to you, you know that bully maybe had some daddy issues or some mommy issues. You know that. You know that there's a problem with that bully. Hurt people hurt people. We all understand that. The mind is just like that. If your mind is hurting you, the mind needs healing. The mind was just programmed to think that way, to feel that way. But it's not true. It's not reality. And that was something that I had to come to realize, is that there are no amount of compliments that my husband could have given me when I'm in that state. There's no amount of compliments that he could have given me to even believe that I was a good mom. So whatever it was he was saying at that time, it doesn't even matter if it was something mean or nice, because I didn't believe I was a good mom. I'm going to go down that sad rabbit hole. And that was something that I had to own. I had to acknowledge that this is why I'm feeling this way. And another thing you can do after you become aware, you acknowledge, next is to affirm. As I said, you need to write in your journal all the mean things that your mind says to you. Take a look at them, because those are the belief systems that you hold. Some part of you actually believes those things to be true. And again, if you didn't believe would be true, it wouldn't be so painful for you. So when you go back to your journal and you look at some of those mean things that you are saying to yourself, it is time to start affirming. The reason why you say mean things, and the reason why you feel crappy, is because your brain has been wired to think that way. It has been programmed to feel that way. So if you want to start creating a healthier mind, you have to rewire the brain. You have to reprogram the brain. This is why affirmations are so important. And it's not just some woo-woo spirituality stuff that, that doesn't actually work. If you start doing affirmations and you feel those feelings that you are confident, that whatever it is, that you are rich, that you have lost weight and you live a healthy lifestyle, whatever it is that you are struggling with, doing affirmations every single day, multiple times a day, and take a moment and feel what it would actually feel like to be in a healthy relationship, to not be depressed, to know how to handle stressful moments, to affirm that you are enough, that you are loved, that you can trust again. You are literally rewiring the brain. Now, it does take some effort and you have to be consistent with it. And your brain's going to tell you, no, this is not it. You're wrong. This is stupid. This is a waste of time. Don't do affirmations. You know the truth. You know you're not enough. You know you can't trust anybody. You know you're fat. You know you're broke. You know you're never going to make it. Your brain has been wired to think this way, most likely for decades. So when you are doing these affirmations, you have to learn how to put those negative thoughts aside. They can be swirling around up in there, but you can still look at yourself in the mirror and do them and feel those emotions. And I promise you, slowly but surely, your brain is going to get that cue like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're thinking differently. And your brain will start giving you more thoughts that are supportive, that are loving, and you will start to feel better as well. The fourth thing that I say that you should do in order to help create that change in your life is taking action. So doing the affirmations, very important, because this is the stuff that's happening in your brain and it's happening in your body. But when you start to take action, that wires the brain to a whole nother level, because the brain is now saying, okay, we're repeating this stuff over and over in our head. But when you actually take action, the brain is like, okay, this is real. This is not just some, like I'm just going to do some affirmations and hope. I'm taking care of myself right now. I'm making moments and choosing, my good hour out of the day and making it just about me, whatever it is that looks like. It's just taking that time for you. And this is the time that I tell moms, be selfish in this moment. Take care of you and actually take action that you're taking care of you. Because again, this is all about reprogramming, rewiring the brain. And when you take action that is solely for you, that's taking care of you, the brain is taking notes, you guys. The brain is always taking notes. And if you continually fall into that same negative thought pattern, it's going to keep perpetuating those negative thoughts. But if you choose to cut off that thought when it is happening and replacing it with a loving and supportive thought, if you do that constantly over and over again, and you're taking action that where you're taking care of yourself, you are working out more, you are eating more healthy, you are, maybe it's going to school, maybe it's doing, I don't know, whatever it is that it's something for you and it's solely for you. Your brain is going to take note and it's going to start encouraging you like, this is good. This is what we're doing. The brain doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're happy, sad, up, down, whatever. It's just taking its cues from however you are. And so if you choose to take some more action that is for yourself, your brain is going to pick up on that and your brain's going to say, okay, we're doing things differently now. And that's how you create a healthier mind. I want to thank you so much for listening in, for tuning in. I really hope that some of these tools helped you. I know for me, as you saw I'm very candid in my own life experience because I know that that's really what helps people the most. And I just hope that you use some of these techniques and they help you. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.